she ain't find out till Jermaine Jackson sent her home with a pair of wet underwears. And that's the prime example of a man hauling your vagina out and sending you back home to your bulldog.
I don't hear nobody out there.
Had her own theory to explain why she was being let go. Clive, she believed, had never forgiven her for accepting the role in Sophisticated Ladies against his wishes. That could be one of the reasons, but that definitely ain't the only one. I got that role by myself, she said. Clive Davis didn't like it. He said the show was going to fail. I said, watch. See, you being combative right there. And of course, it didn't fail. It was a huge success. I don't think he ever forgave me for that. No sweat, but Arista taught me a lot. If anything, I'm grateful. I won't ever let other people push my buttons again. She still don't get it. No sweat off her back, Phyllis said she was glad to be gone from the label. There were some nice records, but I'd say 70% of the time being with Arista was a nightmare. Ironically, for all its inability to produce a real hit for Phyllis, Arista was a haven for soulful female heavyweights at the time. You Know How to Love Me was a hit, okay, or at least hit enough. Now, they wasted a lot of money on that lady, we ain't gonna lie. And I don't even believe that they even recouped half the money that they invested in her. In the early 80s, the label had effortlessly revived the careers of Dionne Warwick and the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin. Now, by all indications, they were primed to take a newcomer, Whitney Houston, who was actually Dionne's cousin, straight through the roof. Her duet with Teddy Pendergrass on the Asylum label, Hold Me in Your Arms Tonight. Her duet with Teddy Pendergrass on the Asylum label, Hold Me, entered Billboard's R&B chart, where it would eventually peak at number 5. The same week, the label sent Phyllis her walking papers. Arista also paired Whitney up with Jermaine Jackson on a song called Take Good Care of My Heart for his self-titled release on the label. Don't forget, Whitney Houston went around there to the Jermaine Jackson's house while he was married and laid down with him while Robin was back at the house wondering what the hell was happening with her lover. She ain't find out till Jermaine Jackson sent her home with a pair of wet underwears. And that's the prime example of a man hauling your vagina out and sending you back home to your bulldog. Whitney Houston was hurt. And she was young. And Jermaine ain't shit. Rest in peace, Tito. Arista also paired Whitney up with Jermaine Jackson on a song called Take Good Care of My Heart for his self-titled release on the label. This strategy, introducing a newcomer by featuring them on the releases of established stars, was not uncommon. Yet they never employed the tactic on Phyllis, which might have been the best way to introduce her to pop. Clive once explained his knack of creating hit records as such. You gotta find artists who are unique. You gotta find material that could become standards. He also said that vocalists who do not write their own material have to bring songs to life in a manner never thought of. Phyllis obviously was a unique artist, and she could breathe life into the dullest of compositions. Yet a fair share of her material, which all received the green light from Arista's A&R department, was obviously not destined to become standards. Phyllis spent a significant portion of the summer on tour with the Cool City Jam Festival, which was paying her $7,500 a night. Combined with the independent bookings brought in by ABC, Phyllis was on the road more than she was home. At the end of August, Phyllis had her mother join her for a date in Columbia, South Carolina. After the concert at the Township Auditorium, the band flew back to New York while Phyllis and the elder Miss Hyman boarded a plane bound for Greensboro, North Carolina, where the annual Hyman family reunion was taking place. The following evening, Nate, that's her boyfriend, y'all, flew in from Philadelphia at Phyllis's expense to join them. We got trouble. And I have told y'all 1,000 times, you Cancer ladies may be mad at me, but y'all are infamous for taking care of a nigga. Y'all will buy a ninja's love. You hear me? And I'm just saying, y'all don't have no problem bringing home the bacon, frying it up in the pan, and never, ever, ever, ever letting a nigga forget he a man while he's sitting over there doing Nathan. That ain't my ministry. The following evening, Nate flew in from Philadelphia at Phyllis's expense to join them. Phyllis's mother had met Nate some months earlier when she visited with Phyllis in Philadelphia and taken an instant liking to her daughter's beau. She even went so far as to start referring to herself as his adopted mom. Indeed, her whole family became enamored with Nate and his southern charm. Despite the Hyman family's affection for him, things between Nate and Phyllis cooled shortly after the trip to Greensboro. Phyllis's celebrity and her frequent touring inevitably took a toll. At first, I think he enjoyed being in the limelight with her, said Craig Hintosh. That's the dude that introduced them. But I think it wore thin rather quickly. In addition, as time wore on, it became impossible to ignore the magnitude of Phyllis's personal struggles. Meaning the booger sugar. Okay, or the free basin. And if Phyllis wasn't ready to address them, what could Nate do? Nate didn't have the full capacity required to be committed to someone such as Phyllis, given the nature of her many issues, explained Glenda. I think her issues just wore their relationship thin. Yeah, and him not having the money that she thought he had, but I'll proceed. As the relationship came to a close, Phyllis instructed Glenda to set up a meeting with Nate to formally make arrangements for the repayment of all the loans she extended. Phyllis was feeling the need to tie up the loose ends in her life, and for a while they began to come together. The day before Glenda's meeting with Nate, Phyllis received word that the arbitration on the Manhattan apartment had been successful and that R.W. Kern would issue her a new 2-year lease. 2 days later, her divorce from Larry finally came through, which had been held up while the two talked money. Larry was her manager and husband, and so I guess he felt that she was obliged to support him in some way, said Glenda. I didn't feel that she was obliged to do that. In the end, Phyllis agreed to cough up $5,000, a small price for her freedom. Didn't I tell you sometimes you got to pay a ninja to go away? I am a firm believer in paying for my freedom. And I know you like, nay, I'm not about to get no ninja no money to get out. Let me tell you something. If you got a ninja living in your house and he ain't shit and he ain't been shiz, since he's been in your home and he can't go nowhere because he broke, I done said this 1,000 times and I'm about to say it 1,001. He a dummy. All you got to do is offer him, here, baby, I'm about to give you first and last month's rent. This is what you say. This is the dialogue. It breaks my heart that me and you ain't working out, baby. And I mean this with the sincerest heart and soul felt whatever. I feel bad about that, baby. So what I'm going to do to put you in the right direction is I'm going to give you the first month's rent and the last month's rent for an apartment. Because I feel bad, because I asked you to leave your mama's basement to come live with me. He ain't going nowhere but back to his mama's basement, but you ain't gonna say that to the dummy. So I'm gonna give you this $4,000. This is 2024. Rent is like $2,000 a month now to live in the fucking hood, okay? But I'm gonna give you this $4,000, baby, and I'm gonna wish you luck. And I hope one day you can forgive me for wasting your time. He a dummy. He gonna look at it like, ooh, she giving me $4,000. She's stupid. He gonna take it. Not even realizing that, nigga, once that $4,000 is gone, what is you going to do? Because I'm changing my locks as soon as you leave, okay? And then I might have to put a restraining order on you that money, and you don't care if he move in with another bitch. That's that bitch problem. You don't care if he move back in with his mammy. Now that's his mammy's problem again. You don't care what he do as long as he is out of your face. Hence, pay a ninja to go away. Phyllis was also trying to broaden her professional horizons and find new ways to make a living. Sophisticated Ladies was still close enough in the rearview mirror to win her the opportunity of a lifetime, and soon Phyllis secured an audition with Steven Spielberg, the veteran director of such epics as Raiders of the Lost Ark and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Spielberg was now beginning work on his adaptation of the Alice Walker novel, The Color Purple. Phyllis, because of her vocal ability, was being offered the chance to read for the part of Shug Avery, the saloon chanteuse of the film. Glenda and her partner, Sidney Francis, could not get Phyllis to read The Color Purple. So Sidney did the next best thing. She read it to her. I couldn't believe I had to read a book to an adult, but I did it, Sidney recalled. I read it to her line by line and page by page. I helped her get a sense of the character. Phyllis auditioned for casting director Reuben Cannon in Chicago and New York, and he was duly impressed. He called Spielberg and said, "I found Shug Avery. The search is over," said Glenda. So how do we feel about Phyllis Hyman being Shug Avery instead of... So we knew for those of us who read the book, we know that Shug Avery's character was not the thin-framed woman that Marguerite Avery was. Taraji P. Henson actually fit the bill for the actual Shug Avery character. But we accepted Margaret Avery's adaptation of the character nonetheless. So taking it back to Phyllis Hyman being Shug Avery, so now that we're reading this book and learning that Phyllis Hyman had the opportunity to be Shug Avery, I could absolutely see her in that position, knowing that the person was not the small frame that Margaret Avery was, knowing that she was a thicker character. But you know that goddamn Phyllis Hyman can F up a wet dream. The wettest. Phyllis auditioned for casting director Reuben Cannon in Chicago and New York, and he was duly impressed. He called Spielberg and said, "I've found Shug Avery. The search is over," said Glenda. When the time came to audition for Spielberg, Sidney traveled with Phyllis to Los Angeles. At the Hollywood Sheraton, Phyllis met up with Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Danny Glover. Together, they all traveled by van to Spielberg's compound. Goldberg was particularly impressed with Phyllis. She was thrilled to see her, Sidney said. She told Phyllis, "I love you. I'm so glad you're here. I wanted you to be in this."
Hollywood.
What it is, Hollywood.